All right, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams here for a little bit. Now that the Super Bowl is behind us, all eyes are focused on the future and the 2024 season and beyond as well. And one of the things that I've noticed involving the Rams and, of course, their head coach, Sean McVay, is a recent bunch of indicators that kind of point to the genius and the greatness of McVay and this Rams organization and why I think the future will continue to be bright in Los Angeles. And we saw this from kind of an interesting source recently, this news that has come up from none other than Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank, who hired former Rams assistant Raheem Morris to be the Falcons head coach. And Blank had some interesting comments. Let's pull up the report. This is from SISI.com. This is what Blank had to say. Sean McVay operates differently than a lot of other coaches do, Blank said. The Rams coaching scheme, setup, how they promote from within, move coaches around in a much more lateral way was a learning experience for Morris. Blank added that Morris returned to Atlanta with a stronger plan of how to anticipate and build coaching staffs when departures are imminent, a quality learned from McVay. Morris also mentioned the variation of the term collaborate some 15 times during his introductory press conference February 5th. It's something he singled out as crucial to building a sustained winner, and Blank agrees, while giving credit to McVay and Les Snead for their efforts in implementing the mentality. I think the collaboration that McVay and Les Snead had was very, very close, Blank said. I think there was a true definition of what a collaborative relationship is. If you have a really great relationship, it's almost you can speak without having to use words. So basically, when you look at what Arthur Blank is saying here, is that what Sean McVay is doing, and Les Snead is part of this as well, is coming up with an innovative culture in terms of not just how he develops players, but how he develops coaches. And I think this is a great sign for the Rams going forward, and I'll get into more details in a second. But first, Rams fans in the comment section below, now that we're looking towards the offseason, what's the one position group you think the Rams need to upgrade? A lot of talent on this team, obviously, but there is some holes that need to be addressed. So give us the one position group you think the Rams really need to focus on this offseason to make a much deeper playoff run in 2024. But turning our attention to McVay and McVay and the comments here from Arthur Blanket, what it means going forward. You know, I look for indicators when I'm looking for people that are going to be extremely successful, right? And you can kind of see it in the NFL. You look at what Bill Belichick did, right, when he was with the Patriots. You'd hear what players and coaches would say, man, that dude thinks. He's situational. He thinks so much differently about the game than everybody else. You hear it from Andy Reid. There are reports, for example, that the Chiefs practiced how to handle a playoff overtime coin toss all the way back in training camp. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? But again, it's the next level thinking of the Chiefs and Andy Reid. It's one of the big reasons why they just won a Super Bowl. Obviously, they're second in a row. And we're seeing the same kind of indicators here, a little different, but very similar vein, from Sean McVay, or coming from Sean McVay and other sources, in this case, Arthur Blank. Sean McVay's approach in terms of how he develops his players and how he develops his coaches is 100% unique. And I really want to focus on the word that Raheem Morris said there, collaborative. A lot of times in the coaching ranks, and you kind of see it when you watch sort of the insider specials that the NFL puts out, the head coach is the guy on top, then you have the coordinators, and they kind of just dominate everybody underneath them, right? That's sort of the fault of the Belichick era. Bill Belichick is the dominating force, and we've seen this from a lot of coaching staffs. There's a lot of reports, actually, that Kyle Shanahan is like this in San Francisco. He's a very domineering presence. What is McVay? He's more collaborative. He wants to develop the guys underneath him, whether they're young coaches or experienced guys like Raheem Morris. And this is something I think very intelligent people do. And I think this is what separates McVay from a lot of other great coaches. He recognizes, he's a smart guy, but he recognizes that he's even smarter and the team is better when he surrounds himself with even more smart people and elevates them up to the maximum amount of their abilities. And that's where I think when we look at the Sean McVay scheme, right, one of the reasons why everyone talks about the McVay offense, in a lot of ways, I don't even know if it's the X's and O's. I think it's just his mentality in terms of how he brings in coaches and players too, and allows them to grow and develop and gives them the opportunity to provide their input. And together in a collaborative environment, they create something special. Now, look, I'm an engineer in my day job, and I see this a lot with the greatest software engineers, the greatest code developers, the guys who put in the ones and zeros that create our entire digital world. Those leaders have the incredible ability to surround themselves with other software engineers and give them the opportunities to put in great code. They all work together and develop the amazing products that change the world. That's a story that you hear involving Elon Musk. You hear very similar stories going back to the Steve Jobs days with Apple. Right? You heard about the old Bill Gates Microsoft days were like this, when they basically created the Windows operating system. It's that ability to focus on a collaborative mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, McVay is the guy. McVay is the number one guy. Him and Les Snead are running the show. But the fact that he's able to humble himself enough and empower his assistants around him and elevate them, I think is a great sign for the Rams going forward. And that gives them, and this is the main point I'm getting at here, a distinct competitive advantage. Because pretty much the 31 other franchises in the NFL, they're basically relying on the genius of one guy, their head coach, maybe their offensive coordinator, maybe their defensive coordinator, so maybe two guys. What Sean McVay has done, again, really smart stuff here, is he said, how about I just hire a bunch of really smart people? How about I hire 20 smart people? And if we have 20 smart people working together, we're going to be better than everybody else's, 2 or 3 smart people at the top of their organization. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We see this all the time with everyone leaving the Rams coaching staff, and then they immediately fill the gaps. That's why I have no doubt in my mind that the young Chris Shula, new defensive coordinator, will do a phenomenal job. Because one, McVay wouldn't hire a dumb guy, and two, McVay is going to develop him to have him, improve his coaching. And number 3, he's going to be part of a great collaborative work environment. This is why the Rams are going to be a contender in 2024 and beyond, and this is why Sean McVay is a special coach. We talk about it a lot on this channel about the intelligence and greatness of McVay. It's a little underrated because it's been a few years since he won a Super Bowl. It's that kind of business, unfortunately. But Rams fans, you guys should really be excited because this recent development, it doesn't sound like much, but it's just another example of one of the many moves that Sean McVay is doing that's just really smart, I'll say genius, and it will allow this Los Angeles football team to continue to be a top-flight contender for years to come.